After 7 years of trying to improve my own learning to make sure that I'm getting good grades and having my best performance, I can confidently say, well, at least in my opinion, that creating a learning system is one of the sure ways in which you can actually learn efficiently, and apart from that, even improve your own learning skills. It is for this reason that I'm going to run you into a step-by-step process by which I think you can create your own learning system that caters for your needs to make sure that you're getting the best out of your learning experiences. Hello everyone, my name is Simon, a fifth-year medical student at the University of Zambia. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, where I share my own personal experiences in my journey in trying to learn more effectively so that you can also put them in your own practice and make sure that you're getting the best out of your own learning experiences. Now, before I actually go to the step-by-step process of how you can actually create a good learning system, may I just mention that be sure to watch this video to the end, because I'm going to give a very interesting offer at the end of this video that I think you don't want to miss. If you're wondering as to why you should be creating a learning system, I created a video about that, whose link is in the description box. I think you check it out. I give a number of reasons as to why I think this is something that you have to invest your time and energy into, but this video is just going to be a step-by-step process. So if you're still thinking whether or not you should get into this project of creating your own learning system, that video will be very good for you. However, you can actually start with this one because I think the order won't really matter. So the first step into trying to create your own learning system is to actually know your current learning system. Now, I believe you did not expect that. So the truth of the matter is, when I say creating a learning system, almost everyone has a learning system. Well, at least, especially if learning is an activity that you're doing most of the day. For example, if you're a student, you have a learning system, only that you're not aware of it. And the fact that you're not aware of it, probabilities are like it's very inefficient, because it is a system that you have created without thinking about the strategies that you're using. You're just picked them up because maybe they feel intuitively right, or just because everybody else is doing them. So now, how do you become aware of your own current learning system, which is probably inefficient? Well, you can do a simple exercise of simply asking yourself a number of questions and writing the answers down. You can write them on a piece of paper, you can write them in your diary, or you can actually type them out. So to do this, you can actually break down your questions into, number one, the first learning experiences. Maybe you can also talk about your revision and also your preparation for exams. So the reason why I'm breaking it up like this is just to make it a bit more systematic, but you can do anything that you're comfortable with as long as you're sticking to the principles that I'm going to talk about. So the first thing that you can ask yourself is, how do I actually learn things for the first time? Now, you're going to be writing about what you do when you're studying. So an example that I can give you is that you don't necessarily have to have a name for the technique that you're using. You can literally just describe it for yourself. So you can start by saying, okay, I prepare my material, lecture slides and books, and then what I do is, if I'm studying the topic and the topic is inflammation, I just open the books and I start studying from the first page going down, trying to understand what I'm understanding and writing the points which I think are important, or notes linearly, just linear notes. And after that, I see if I've understood 10 lectures, and after that, maybe I do a revision of where I come back and reread my own lecture slides. And then to prepare for my exams, I do group discussions, and in these group discussions, we're going through past papers. Maybe they are pre-solved. We are just going and googling the answers. What I'm just trying to say is, be very detailed about the things you're doing, because you can actually use that as a diagnosis to make sure that you can see which parts of your learning system are actually not helping. Because it is not always that you have to revamp everything about your learning. There are specific parts of your learning systems that may actually be letting you down. And being very detailed about that is the first step to knowing, because at this point, you actually don't know what is causing your results not to be as good as you may want them to be. So being aware of your learning system is actually writing down the way you learn everything in as much detail as possible. Now, this may look like an activity that may just take your time and may not be worth it, but I can promise you there's a certain level of awareness that comes with writing down things that you've not really thought about. And you can actually take it a step further and think about your own thoughts. You can ask yourself, okay, when I'm reading, what are the questions that I'm asking myself? Is it that I'm just saying, try to understand this? Or am I asking myself specific questions? Am I systematic in the way I ask myself questions? Ask yourself these questions and just take your time to write these things down. I can promise you, it is going to help you a lot, because this is the first step. It's more like a diagnosis where you are very aware of the things that you're doing, so that when you start making the changes, it is a very systematic way of going about it. instead of just getting this study hack, you put it into your learning system, it doesn't work, you discard it, you put another one. You will continue doing that same thing and you will actually never improve. Well, at least in my opinion. So after you are aware of your own learning system and you have listed it down, if you're able to know the strategies you're using by name, for example, just rereading, highlighting, and maybe like note taking, regardless of what you're doing. After you are aware of that and you see that, the next thing that you're going to do is now to try and learn from people who are a bit more experienced. Now, the thing is, learning itself, there's learning science. So there is science about how learning happens and how effectively you can actually make it. So this you can do from books. There are a number of books like these which are moving here, which I have personally read. There are a lot of YouTube channels. This one is an example, and there are other great YouTubers out there who are sharing very important content which can actually be backed down with proper reasoning. And when you look at the things that they are suggesting, what you can do is now and compare with your own current learning system. So how you do this is, let me give you an example. Let's say, for example, you come to one of my YouTube videos, for example, this video right here, which I had talked about asking intelligent questions. So you can ask yourself, okay, when I'm studying, do I ask intelligent questions according to the way Simon is mentioning that this is how you're going to do it? And then hear my reasoning as to why I think you should be asking intelligent questions, and ask yourself if you're doing the same. If you're doing the same, maybe you can look at, okay, how differently does he express it? Can I improve on it or can I not? If you're not asking intelligent questions, what you can do is you can subject my proposition to experimentation. But the other example I can give is, let's say, for example, in your revision, let's say the way you revise is you take your own notes, the notes that you wrote, or maybe you take the lecture slides, or you take a book or anything, and you start reading through them again. You're reading and remembering, oh, there was that, oh, there was that. That is how you do your revision. Or you can say you do a group study, and the way you do the group study, you mention, okay, this is what we do. We go through past papers, you look at all of that, and then you are going to see maybe a YouTube video which talks about things like active recall. Other people may call it free recall. Yeah. So when you look at that, someone is going to, for example, active recall is actually even in the book Make It Stick, and look at that and try to compare it with what you are doing. Look at the reasoning as to why the author or the person who is presenting that in a YouTube video is advocating that this actually works, and see if it makes some sense to you, if it has got a lot of science in it. After you have done this, regardless of what you are doing, then you go to the next step. The next step is experimentation. So the next step, which is experimentation, is, remember, when you learn something, it is not your knowledge of the technique that actually helps you. It's your execution of the technique. However, executing a technique is not something that you can just do with a snap of a finger, because most of the times things that people are teaching can actually be brought to habits. For example, the video that I made about asking intelligent questions, it's not like if you've not been reading in such a way, you just all of a sudden you're very good at asking intelligent questions. It actually takes time. It's a habit by which every single time you're studying and you're forcing yourself to ask intelligent questions, over time you become better at it. So you're actually supposed to subject that to experimentation. So what you can do is get the technique, subject it to experimentation, try it enough, and see if it helps in your learning. Now, how you're able to see that, I can make another video of how to assess your own learning and see if the techniques that you're using are actually helping you. So when you're doing the experimentations, you're literally seeing your old technique and the new one, trying to try on the new one and see if it makes significant changes. Now, I have to mention that the experimentation process is not an easy one, because it's very possible to take a technique and try to apply it wrongly, and then afterwards you may think that it is not working when in the actual sense you're just not executing it correctly. However, it is always better to experiment regardless of how you understand the technique, because it is only after you have experimented with it that you can actually discover the things that you may need to know, maybe about the technique or even about your current learning system. And so the experimentation process is a very, very important one which cannot be skipped really. The last step in creating a learning system is feedback and re-experimentation. So remember, the thing which is happening here is you're trying to create a learning system. So a system is supposed to be with a number of strategies. So you creating a learning system is taking away that which is inefficient in your learning system and replacing it with that which is actually efficient. One of the mistakes that people may make is just to try to take a study hack and add it to the current learning system without stopping any of the things that you're doing. So you're doing a feedback where you see if it is working, and then re-experiment with a complete removal of that which is not effective. because it is not correct to just maintain your ineffective techniques and then you're learning something which is effective and then you're just combining them, because you're not going to have a direction. Now, from what I've talked about, you can actually see that there are a lot of nuances and a lot of details about creating a learning system that may actually need someone to help you and help you with a step-by-step. And it is for this reason that I'm giving you an offer of free consultation where you can send me an email for the next 14 days. In this email, you can ask any questions that you think I may be able to help you with. And in these consultations, you can send any question, or you can actually take it a step further and send me your current learning system, and I can review it for you, and I can make suggestions of things that you may try out, things that I may think you may remove from your learning system, and experiment with better ones. This is only going to run for the next 14 days, and the only way you should get to me is via email, and my email will be down in the description box, and I'll be able to reply to you as soon as I can, depending on the number of consultations that I may receive. Alright guys, that's it for today. I hope this video was very much helpful. If it was, remember to like, share, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell, and share it with a couple of friends. See you next time.